Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Exposure Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get to know movies, TV, online content, and help you answer the question, do we want to see more immersive screenings? I'm your host, Ashley Hubley. Join me today, Dylan Blight.
Is that the big 90-degree screening things, or is that the water's thrown at you?
I mean, a bit of both. So what I imagined of immersive screenings is like last year, The Long Walk came out. So as a promotional thing, they got people to walk on the treadmill to get in the zone of The Long Walk. That was a Lionsgate movie, and Lionsgate have done it again, this time with the release of Fall 2. They've had an immersive screening where people had to stand on elevated wooden planks for the entire screening. They're in harnesses and stuff, but
I can tell you right now,
on a ledge, like the people
it
in
is
the movie.
not the way I would like to watch any movie for the first time. However, as like sort of a theme park sort of experience thing, maybe, especially if you've seen the movie before and you're like, oh, this might be a bit of fun, but I'm not going to watch a movie that way the first time. No, that's a theme park sort of thing.
Yes, that's fair. No, I think I agree. If it's like a thing that I've seen before and like a cool experience thing, I think that would be cool. But like the first time, unless it's like Fall 2 and we tried.
Like, man, come watch. We're doing a screening of Pineapple Express, and everyone's gonna get baked.
It's just gonna be smoke. The room's just gonna be filled with smoke the entire
time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what other fun immersive things. Like, obviously the most obvious thing is like it's a dog movie. There's like a bunch of dogs in the theater. Oh, something like that. That could be fun. But I look forward to more fun stunt marketing like this. I can appreciate it on a marketing level, doing things like this, but would I want to do it myself? Probably not. On today's episode, we'll be talking about what's in Dylan's watch history. We'll be talking about what the little bit of film news, giving some thumbs to trailers, and giving you this week's top 3. All right, Dylan, I guess, how are you feeling? You went to MIFF this past weekend, saw 13 movies in
15 movies.
15 movies in 3.5 days.
Yeah.
I guess, what was the thought process? What was the strategy?
I mean,
how are you feeling on the other end?
The thought process is, I want to cover the festival for Exposure Network and squeeze as much as I possibly can into a short amount of time, because I have to fly to a different state and it costs money and time to do these things. So I wanted to squeeze as much as I can into a small amount of time and be like, I'm going to, every year, so this is my third MIFF, right? Third time I've flown up for MIFF. Every year I've added more to the schedule. And I think last year, I don't remember how many I did across a couple of days. I'd have to go check. Not this many. But I remember thinking that was fine. I made that work. I could do more. And this year I ran the numbers and the timetable and all these things, and I really tried to jam as many possible screenings into as short as time as possible. And and look, I've only got 5 more reviews to write as well, so I'm not even that far behind. I think I'm doing quite well. Is my body and brain mentally recovered? No, because it turns out watching that many movies in that short time will fry you. And I still had to do a lot of walking around, like obviously between trams and stuff. Like every day I walked, according to my phone thing, I was walking over 10 kilometers every day. So as much as I was doing sitting down, I was also power walking around a lot. And it turns out when you book that many screenings as close together, you don't get a lot of time to sleep or eat, which was something I did accept and just thought I would work it out. But
did you work it out? What was the eating situation?
I had lunch once, and I had a proper dinner once as well.
Okay.
Across those days. Everything else was...
I was going to say, I think you need a carb load like at the start of the day.
Yeah.
But the concern is then you need to go to the bathroom.
Well, no, the other problem is that it's like if the first screening is at 10 a.m. 2 of the days, and the last screening was basically at midnight. By the time I got back to the hotel and then attempted to get some sleep, I was quite often not waking up early enough to, or I didn't want to wake up early enough to go get
Good
breakfast
yeah.
before heading to a tram or whatever to make my way to the next screenings. So protein bars and water. And that sort of helped me. That would be my advice is don't do it in an ideal world. Look, obviously, if I lived in Victoria, Melbourne, wherever, I wouldn't cram as many into a shorter time as this. However, circumstances call for actions, and I'm committed. But if you were going to do it, I do think the protein bars and water was my savior, because I knew that staring at a screen so much, I had to make sure I stay hydrated and have something. So I wasn't just eating junk food and Red Bulls all day.
No. Okay.
So that helped. There's my health advice.
Yes. I don't know. Like some film festivals are like only for a short period and have a massive slate. So I'm sure there are other people who are going to do something similar. Crazily.
I mean, I do get asked. I was like, "Why would you do?" I'm like, "Look, I wouldn't do this for fun." Like I did get asked this last week. I'm like, I'm not doing it because I'm like, this is a relaxing weekend away. I'm literally just doing it because I want to cover as many films for the website as I possibly can, and that's the end of the story. Like, it's not like I can't wait for this exciting, relaxing weekend. I didn't come back refreshed. I come back fucking exhausted. I want a holiday now. Like,
you didn't have any issue getting to cinema? No close run things or anything?
I was 5 minutes late to one. Was the tightest I had, which I thought I would be. That was the one where I knew one movie was finishing at, I don't remember. Let's just say I was finishing at 4, and that was at Village Crown, and then the next one was starting at okay, I'm getting all the film. Is it the Capitol or Astor? Whichever, the one that's in
the Astor.
The Astor, yeah, which is down at I'm mental blanking on all the fucking suburbs names. Anyway, St Kilda.
Melbourne.
Sorry. It's down that way. Yeah, not Melbourne. So it's like a half-hour tram ride if you get them all on time, which I had to wait, and then I had to get off and wait for another one because I had to jump between 2 trams. So that one I was 5 minutes late to. I was sitting there comfortably at some point, like I knew it just hit, like let's say it started at 5. I can't remember what time it started, but let's say it started at 5. And I was sitting there still waiting for the next tram. And I'm like, it's probably like another 15-minute tram ride. But I'm like, yeah, but they'd have like 10, 15 minutes of not trailers they played before, but they play like all the sponsored videos and stuff. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I should be okay. And by the time I walked in, I could tell it was like, I just got a vibe. I'm like, I've missed like maybe 5 minutes. And I never felt like I missed. By the time I finished the movie, I didn't feel like I'd missed.
Okay, I'll have to let us know which one of these movies.
Substantial a lot.
All right, so we're going to try and run through chronologically of your weekend.
Yep.
Tractors betrayed us because
betrayed me a bit. Yep.
It won't let you track some things you've early, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's kick things off with, if I can pull up the tab. Talk to me about Mad Rush. Also, go to the website. Dylan's got a bunch of reviews for these. Make it worth his while.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Yeah, so some of these I do, as I said, nearly all of them I have reviews up. I would say maybe by tomorrow night, by the time this posts. If not, no, that's probably a lot too much. Let's say I'll definitely have them all done by the end of the week. That's my goal though. So Mad Rush is set in Melbourne, which was like in very CBD Melbourne. So that was sort of made this one a fun watch because you could recognize like literally basically everywhere it was filmed. It says it's based on a true story. I'm not sure to the level of extrapolating it is or whatever, but it basically follows this girl who I can't remember the character's name, sorry. And IMDb's letting me down, doesn't have the character name either. Maybe it's in my review, which I'm not looking at. maybe that's why she looked at my review. She gets a call. She's just lost her job, and she gets a call from someone claiming to be from the ATO tax people, and says, "Hey, your accounts made a bunch of fraudulent transactions to what offshore accounts, like absolute nonsense that I think anyone would be like, this is ridiculous." But I think in a combination of having just lost her job, is on a job hunt, just found out that her roommate is moving out to be with her partner, and now obviously she's got no job and she's going to be by herself, and that cost of living and all those sorts of things. I think she's just more susceptible to being scammed. So while she's running around Melbourne trying to do these like job hunt and go to this appointment and all these other sort of things, it's sort of like just a 24-hour in this girl's life. She keeps like getting these calls from these people who she follows along to a degree. Every now and then she hangs up on them and then suddenly starts freaking out and calls them back or whatever, and these people start basically trying to get her to go to a bank and get her money out because her account's been hacked, and she can't tell anyone because then they would become accomplices in the crime. And they use very specific language on the phone, which I guess, being based on true story to whatever degree, the language probably based, but it's like they try to play to her like, and you wouldn't want to get your friends or family in trouble now, would you? You wouldn't want to do that to them, would you? Like very like trying to guilt her, blackmail her that way. The overall core plot I thought was whatever, and I do think that it's even at an hour 16, it felt way too long. And there's several scenes of her just rushing through the city, like montage stuff, which the first time is cool. It's like, yeah, cool, like Melbourne rushing around, like, get the sense of her mind being, a lot going on. But by the time they did it like 2-3 times, I was like, I feel like this is just padding out a movie that's not even that long. The best stuff in the movie is these little interactions she has with people throughout it. She has this, she like gets this Uber ride, and her and the guy have a conversation about how much he loves the city and being able to see the watch the people and stuff. And I like that. And then she runs into these 2 cleaners at a church and has a conversation with them. Just no consequence to the movie or whatever, but they were good little character pieces with performances. And I think that's when the movie was its best. And I sort of just wish the movie was this, her going around talking to people and sort of that. But yeah, I think I gave it like a 4.5 or something. I didn't love it.
All right. Next up, we've got The River Train.
The River Train was interesting. It's it starts rather intense with he's a 9-year-old, Milo, a 9-year-old kid who's Malambo, dancer in this Argentinian village. And the movie starts with his father like drilling him, but not drilling him to be good at dancing. Is like giving him prompts. He like says something like, river, answer, don't think, and bird, answer, don't think. And every time the boy's like giving an answer. And then he goes out and does this performance, and it's really good. And props to the kid playing Milo and the other dancers there, and it was really cool. And you're like, oh my god, what a 9-year-old doing this great dance. But every time it cut to the father, it's like he's just not super impressed. And then we go home that night, and the father like sort of gets him out of bed and makes him practice dancing, even though his 9-year-old kid's just gotten to bed and stuff. You can tell the father's just drilling him into this thing. The kid looks miserable at all points, and there's no lead up or any reason why this happens, but basically the kid manages to sneak away and get onto a train and head into, I'm not sure what city it's supposed to be, but like I guess whatever the biggest closest city was. I don't think they ever really say. And it just sort of follows him through, I don't know, a couple days within the city, and he bumps into some people, has interesting interactions with them. He goes to, it's just a kid who's been like, I'm sick of this, very obviously sick of his home life, and he goes to seek, he seeks life beyond his small village, basically. I enjoyed it for what it was. I can see some people not liking it because it doesn't really actually have any proper narrative at all. You can take from it what you will, especially by the end, which is very open-ended, sort of what's that supposed to be in the movie. But I think it's one of those movies where you get a feeling watching it, and if you don't, you don't. But if you do, you do. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I gave 7.5.
Yep. All right. Next, we've got We Are All Strangers.
Really, really enjoyed this one. So this is a big cast, big group of characters. It's set in Singapore, and it follows. Basically, you've got dad and his son, and then the as main characters. Then you've got this other woman who works at the dad's bar/restaurant, and then you've got the son's girlfriend. So out of those 4 characters, the 3 are from a very, I guess, middle to lower class economic area of Singapore, and then you've got the girlfriend who's from a more upper class background, especially when it comes to her mother, who you see in the film. And a lot of this movie has to do with, I guess, the different social classes and backgrounds and how that affects them, especially in Singapore, which is generally, if you think about Singapore has money, but but it's also like that. It's a very like 1%, sort of thing. There's all these people in the lower class, but there's like I think underground to this, there's a lot of like sort of discussion around those different values and like how Singapore as a country treats its lower social economic people. But so basically, the son, he's just finishing up his time in like, I guess, mandatory military stuff they have to do in Singapore, maybe a couple of years or something. And then he and his girlfriend, she gets pregnant. So now there's like a rushed wedding on that the mother wants. It's like straight away you have to get married now that you're pregnant, because she says she's not going to get rid of it. And her mum's super upset because she's this, A grade student. She's, piano recitals and all this sort of thing. She's meant to be going off to some fancy school or whatever, but she chooses to keep it. So the mother says, right, we got to get married. So then it's straight away like she wants to spend however many millions of dollars or whatever on this big fancy wedding that the father can't afford, but they agree and make it happen. And you see this early in the movie. It's like you said, this big fancy wedding with a song and dance, like they come out, song, dance, champagne glasses, everything. And then also on the other end of that, you then have the father who, the woman working at his bar has been struggling to find somewhere to live. Again, economic issues and all these aspects. And he says, why don't you marry me so then we can live together, which she does agree to. So now you've got a household, well, a very small apartment now with these 4 people living in it. You've got the 2 sets of newlyweds, one of them which at least came from 2 people who liked each other, who now have a child, and the other 2 which have been sort of marriage of convenience to a degree. And then the rest of the movie sort of them dealing with the money aspect of it, raising the baby. You've got a young kid who doesn't know how to be a father or a good husband, and him attempting to come to terms with that. This woman who's been a very single-minded, never been married, always working, and now she's like being asked to stay at home longer. You're a wife now, sort of stay at home sort of thing, and managing all of that. It's a very interesting character piece of these fantastic. I think everyone in it was fantastic. I think the only problem I think I mentioned really in my review that I had was that the girlfriend, once she has the baby, she's sort of involved in the film still, but out of all of the 4 main characters, she's the one who seems to get pushed over to the side, not as get as an interesting proper character arc to her as the rest of them do. But yeah, it was fair. I really enjoyed it. Can't remember what I gave it. 9, I think.
9 out of 10. So, all right. Next up, we've got Knife, the attempted murder of Salman Rushdie.
Yeah, so this is a documentary which is based on, I can't remember the name of the book, but it's based on Salman Rushdie's book about the attempted murder on himself. So basically, Salman Rushdie is the author of the Satanic Verses, which is his most prominent book, and he's wrote a bunch of other stuff. But that is his most prominent book because it got a fatwa on him, and he had to have police and whatever escort him for years because he always had people threatening to kill him and stuff, because the book, although fictional and features fictional characters and it's sort of half magical elements and stuff, is very critical of Muslim religion, I guess, and people within that. So this is I don't know, it's a couple of years ago when the events take place, but he basically walks out onto a stage, like he's there to do a talk. There's already another dude sat down at the couch, and there's like the moderator standing up at the bench thing, and this guy just rushes up onto the stage and stabs him 13 times, I think, which you'd think someone would die from because he gets stabbed in the neck, the body, in the eye, everything. So the movie is a combination of footage that his wife films of him in hospital recovering, which does feature some stuff that the woman sitting next to me quite often went, "Ugh," at, because, I mean, I don't think there's a nice way you can say, your eyeball don't look nice once it's been stabbed, is what is what I'd say. An eyeball that has been stabbed is not nice to look at. Not pretty. But yeah, so they film all this stuff basically because they wanted to, you know, as he says in the film, right after he sort of wakes up at a hospital, his wife asks him if it's okay to film this, and he says yes. And he says there's something along the lines of, he says it's not just about me, it's about everyone or whatever. And the main point of the story in the film is like, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of, you know, expression. It's like, can people go around killing people just because they don't like that someone criticized their religion? And of course the answer is no, that's ridiculous. So it sort of tracks that, has a bit of backstory to other stuff that happened to him, but also just tracks his recovery because he has to, like, you know, learn to use his hands again because they got stabbed, and that's our part, he got stabbed right through the hand, and all these other things. And then I think the smartest thing the movie does though is it starts with the footage of him coming out onto the stage and everything, and then it cuts to black and you hear screams, but you don't get to see it. And then you hear him talk about the attack 3-4 times throughout the film, of how it happened. But they only fully show the footage right at the end of the movie when Salman Rushdie is returned to the place where it actually happened. So it's sort of get this metaphorical moment of him standing there in the moment where he nearly died, and sort of him walking through, he walks the steps the guy who attempted to kill him did and explains like what he did and everything, and then they show the footage. And the footage is, I mean, it's horrific obviously to watch someone, it's not like super bloody or anything, but it's just, you know, it's a lot to watch someone run up on stage and attempt, you know, well, not attempt, like just stab someone that many freaking times and whatever else. Everyone in the cinema, I think, you know, when you hear like an audible gasp, it's like that was an audible gasp, I think, when you get to see that at the end. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a story of, I mean, human resilience a bit, but also just a discussion around, you know, is this okay that people are? And the other thing is he talks about the guy who tried to kill him was 22 years old, and he says in it, you know, he wasn't even alive when he published the book that everyone wants him dead for. So it's just like this carried forward hate of, you know, someone said that I should be dead because of this, because I, you know, whatever. But yeah, would recommend it. It's quite interesting.
All right, the next one on the list is Josephine, which is one I've heard of. It was at Sundance earlier this year, starring Channing Tatum and Gemma Chan.
Yeah, Josephine is fantastic. I think it's probably I'd say it's the best thing I watched at the festival, of the 15 films I managed to watch. So it follows, the film starts, I mean, it's not a spoiler to set up the the whole thing. The film starts and Channing Tatum is going out for a run through a park with his daughter Josephine, and they're going to play soccer somewhere, but they're sort of just running through the park and whatever else. And they get slightly separated because she runs off and being silly or whatever. And then she's hiding behind this tree and she witnesses this woman go into a bathroom and then a man follow her in and drag her out and rape her. And she witnesses the entire thing. And the only reason it sort of stops is because Channing Tatum shows up, and then of course the dude does a runner and all these sorts of things. So the film is about how does I guess it's about two things, I guess. It's how does a child reconcile with seeing something like that at such a young age? And then also ask the question of how do parents, as parents, how do you deal with that? So, Josephine overhears on that first night when they're home, she hears Channing Tatum say to Gemma Chan, if anyone ever, she shouldn't be there, she's supposed to be in bed, but she sneaks out. She hears Channing Tatum say, if anyone ever raped you, I'd fucking kill them, or something like that. So now she's got the word rape. Now she's Googling the word rape. Now she's at school. She beats a boy in a race in PE class and then runs away and says, that's right, none of you would be able to rape me, And of course the PE teacher's like, what the fuck? So it's like this thing. She's haunted by the events, but she doesn't fully understand the events. She now has questions about sex, but can't differentiate. And the parents are having to struggle between discussing consensual, loving sexual relationships compared to what she witnessed, and how to do that. And even the parents, and I think both, look, I think this is Channing Tatum's best performance, full stop. I think Gemma Chan is really good, but I think she doesn't get as much to do as Channing Tatum does. Channing Tatum has a very close relationship with Josephine. It's a very father-daughter relationship, you can sort of tell. But even Gemma Chan and Channing Tatum as mother and daughter, they're sort of coming at friction points because of how they want to tackle this subject matter. Gemma Chan, as the mother, wants to take her to, speak to a psychiatrist and, not tell her certain things or do it. She's trying to do it a certain way. Channing Tatum's like, we should tell her this, or, all these sorts of, we should teach her this or whatever. So it's sort of causing friction between them as well, among some things. But yeah, I mean, look, also Mason Reeves, who plays the little girl, I don't know, maybe one of the best child performances ever. I don't it's sort of an open. I'd have to think deeper about that, but I mean, I don't know, it's a lot for a child actor to deal with and do, and the performance she does, especially playing off these very intense scenes and everything. But yeah, it's a very, obviously it's tough subject matter, and I think the other thing that makes the film good or above other films that have tackled similar subject matter, because it's not like there hasn't been films about people dealing with sexual assault or from different character angles and whatnot, but I do think it's something to say that this film doesn't shy away from the act with brutality or whatever, because there are other films where quite often they will, for better or worse, I mean, you can talk about it depending on the film, they don't actually show the act. And I mean, this is not they don't linger on it or what too much, but this is a film that's yep, she's seeing it, so it's important to show it what she's sort of seeing. So I do think that helps overall, because I was thinking about it afterwards where I was like, if they had cut away to Channing Tatum and then had him catch up to her and then you just assume what she just witnessed, I don't think it would have been as haunting or effective to see, because the police actually, I don't think this is a spoiler either because it happens early in the movie. Obviously this is set up. They capture the guy, so Josephine's sitting in the police car when the police go looking for the guy, and she's in the police car next to the victim, the woman who was just raped. And she's sitting there because Channing Tatum's off helping the police or whatever and didn't know what else to do with her. So she's sitting there next to this woman who's traumatized, obviously. And then they drag the guy out of the police car. And then as the victim turns around to be like, yep, that's the guy, she's, she's now got the image and everything like that. So there's a lot that, so it's a lot. The movie's a lot, but it's also fantastic. And I would recommend.
All right. Next on the list, Dead Man's Wire, which is the original version of American Hostage.
Gus
Van Sant?
Yeah, Gus Van Sant. I thought this was okay. I mean, say it this way, I knew how this ended because I'd watched a freaking Watch Mojo video about this a couple of years ago or some shit like that where they talked about weirdest TV events. So I knew how it ended, and which is such a weird way for me to know, but it is I remember that's where I saw it. It was like top 10 wildest things that happened on live TV or some shit. But I mean, basically the story is that Tony Curtis, I've got the name here somewhere. Tony Curtis, sure. Goes into this, he's taking out a loan for land, and he was going to turn it into a supermarket or something like that. And then it all goes to shit, and he says it's because the place that gave him the loan, which is owned by Al Pacino, that they screwed him out.
Al Pacino's playing.
The character Al Pacino, not actual Al Pacino. That they screwed him out purposely so they could take it and get him to not be able to make repayments and all these other sorts of things. So he goes there one day expecting Al Pacino's character to be there, but he's not. But his son is, who's played by Dacre Montgomery, whatever, the Australian guy. Richard Hole. And he goes into the office and he basically sticks a shotgun to him with a dead man's wire that's basically like, if you move, the shotgun goes off. And if anyone shoots Bill Skarsgård, who's Tony Curtis, shotgun also goes off. And then he parades him through the street to walk to a car. The cops all around. No one can do anything. They go back to his apartment, and then they have, I don't know, like 72 hours of negotiations where he basically wants his money back. He wants a waiver from the police for the crimes he just committed, and he wants a public apology from Al Pacino's character, which he says is the most important one. I think the movie is flat to the pedal from the second it goes. There's no lead up or anything. The movie just starts with Bill Skarsgård walking into the place, So we sort of go from the second. I think my problem is that if you know the way it ends, it sort of takes away a lot of it. And I also don't really know if this movie's doing anything other than what the movie's also sort of criticizing, but then doing anyway, which is to say that the media, the way the media treated this case is this like, oh my God, crazy, like news coverage, like let's do it. It's going to do big numbers. But I'm like, sort of the movie doesn't do anything else other than that. It's like, let's just take this event and turn it into a movie. I don't feel like the movie has anything to offer other than to treat it for the absolutely ridiculous and wild series of events it is. That's almost too ridiculous to believe it's true, but it did actually happen. So I don't know. It's a fun ride, in particular thanks to Bill Skarsgård, who is very good at playing wacky crazes characters. And he is the perfect casting for this, I think. But I just don't know. I'm like, what was? I don't think this adds anything to the conversation if you know the way it ends. And I think, like, yeah, I don't know. It was fun.
Does it make you more interested or more uninterested in the John Hamm series in which John Hamm plays Coleman Domingo?
It might make me more interested because that's so focused on the radio dude who, yeah, I don't know.
Rather than the actual hostage taker.
The hostage situation, yeah.
All right. What have we got next on the list? We've got a movie called Species.
Yeah, Species was my first of 2 midnight screenings. So this is a French body horror film in which a woman, Margaret, starts at a ER as a intern, and very quickly shit goes a bit weird. So the movie starts with, I think the movie gives you the biggest explanation of what it's sort of about at the start, where movie starts in like a restaurant, takeaway store, something like McDonald's, I don't know. And this guy is at the front counter and he is there some influencer, fucking over the top played influencer that's kind of funny in lines like, I want the big Whopper Dopper meal or whatever. And he's like, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have that available anymore. That was a limited time offer or something. And the guy's like, don't you know how many followers I have? I have 180,000 followers. I want the big Whoppy Doppy meal or whatever. Anyway, the guy cracks and he just jumps the counter, beats the shit out of the influencer dude talking about his things and just kills him and goes crazy and everything like that, and then ends up smacking his own head a million times until he kills himself as well. But then after that, the camera sort of cuts across to a wall where it's like he was employee of the month like 6 months in a row. And it's like, why did he crack? What happened? Which is to say, this movie, as it continues, sort of just becomes about how we all give ourselves too much to our work potentially, and it's gonna kill us all slowly. Because Margot starts at this ER. It's very intense. Obviously, it's an ER. It's fast paced, everything like that. She's struggling with it, and she begins to wake up in the middle of the night with blood coming out of weird spots where there's no cuts, and start to develop oddities on her body. And then that gets worse and worse. One morning she wakes up and there's literally just blood everywhere in her bed. But again, there's no cuts. It's like she's just bleeding and whatever. Sort of escalates from there into some body horror element stuff, which you would love.
Sarcasm.
Not sarcasm implied. I think the body horror stuff is good, especially if you like some people cutting stuff off their body where they shouldn't be cutting stuff. And overall, I thought it was like pretty straightforward about what the film was about, which is, you know, I think it was the saying, you know, you'll give a piece of yourself to your work or whatever, taken very literally in this sort of case. But yeah, so for people who like weird fucked up French films, Sanguine is the root. Sanguine.
Is that what it's called? All right, next one on the list, pretty big title, Coyote versus Acme, a film that's releasing this week in the States, releasing September 15th here in Australia, I want to say, after effectively being on the scrap heap.
Mm-hmm.
This movie has been resurrected. 17th of September, it's releasing here in Australia. Yes, it was on the scrap heap. It was gotten by a can for tax purposes, has miraculously recovered several years after being filmed, and now about to get wide release thanks to fan pushing for it, you know?
Fan pushing for it, and then that other production company, that distributor setting.
Yeah, Ketchup Entertainment, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Coming in and rescuing it.
Yeah.
Dylan, is this a movie worth saving?
100% it was worth saving. I in my review have said this is the best since fucking too many movies I'm talking about. Roger Rabbit. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Ooh.
I think this is the best live action cross animated film since Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which does then say I'm saying it's better than Looney Tunes.
Space Jam.
Space Jam, sorry. I think it's better than Space Jam. It is a lot of fun. I just think that this gets the source material and the world in such a way that it's just like, we're just going to go for a joke every minute, maybe more. I want someone to do the maths when the movie's out on VOD or something like that, of not even if the joke lands for you, but just how often this movie is going for dumb jokes. Because it did feel like it was just consistently going for it. And not even in an annoying way, but just this is fucking Wile E. Coyote. We're going to have dumb slapstick humor at pretty much any and all points. And I think the other really good thing about this one being saved is that getting to watch it in a packed, completely sold out screening and everyone laughing and just enjoying it that way, it's like, oh, this is the way this is meant to be watched. This is not meant to be shelved for a fucking tax write-off or just shoved on HBO Max so you can watch it home with you or your partner or whatever. Because there's just the little things. I think I put it in my review too. It's like there was like one part, and I enjoyed it so much just for seeing that these kids started laughing, like young kids, and I'm like, do they even know what Looney Tunes is, or does it, or does this just prove how silly this humor is and it can work sometimes? But there's a joke where Will Forte, who's this lawyer, this is a quick plot synopsis as well. Will Forte plays this lawyer who Wile E. Coyote goes to, and basically they start a case, even though Will Forte character doesn't really want to, but Coyote pushes him into it, against Acme, a class action lawsuit. And John Cena's playing the lawyer for Acme. So now they're in this big court case. To be honest, there's not a lot of narrative to this film. It is just hijinks. And that's totally fine. But he goes to, it's like, Wile E. Coyote has nowhere to stay after he comes to visit. So Will Forte's like, Lana Condor's character, who's like she's working there at the law firm as a intern or something. She's like, oh, you can come stay with you. So go there. Will Forte like walks into this place and says that he needs a room for his friend or whatever. And this old lady keeps like pointing at stuff saying there's no animals allowed there. And then, but Wile E. Coyote's just there like ding, 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 on, like constantly pressing the fucking bell down, which the first or second time it happened, the whole audience sort of like chuckled, laughed at. But then he goes and sits on this couch behind while Will Forte keeps talking. And then all of a sudden this plastic hand like appears out of nowhere and starts banging on the bell all again. And it's like Wile E. Coyote's like whipped out this mega long fucking hand out of nowhere, because that's just how cartoons work, and bang on it. And then all in the background, all I hear is all these little kids just erupt in laughter, even though the adults were like, that's funny, but we're not all laughing out loud. But it's just funny to me how little kids sometimes are like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why that's so funny, but it's funny. Yeah, it's sort of, it's there's a scene also early in the movie. It's like, it starts, of course, with Coyote trying to do a regular Roadrunner trap. And some Acme thing he's got fails on him, of course. And then he goes back to his cave where he lives, and it shows he's got all these like filing cabinets and stuff where he's just like filing away another failed Acme thing, and he's got like all these things everywhere. And then it has like a weird montage where it shows him looking at all these failed blueprints of Acme stuff, and then cuts and intercuts like some of the original cartoons, like the classic ones of like him pushing down the TNT box thing, but instead of the TNT going off, the box thing blows up on him. Another famous one where he's like goes to cut a hole around, he's under the bridge and he goes to cut out a circle right where Roadrunner is, so he'll fall through the hole to him, but then the entire bridge falls away and only Roadrunner stays up or whatever. He's like looking around like really sad at all these things, like, oh no, that's the time I didn't get to kill him. But yeah, so funny. I'll say also, not to like get into big spoilers or anything, but so obviously the movie does have other Looney Tunes characters in it, and I was worried they might try and jam them in there in ways that didn't make sense. Because like in the trailer, they show Bugs Bunny at the end of the trailer as like a teaser, I guess. Bugs Bunny's in it a little bit, but I felt like they didn't jam Bugs Bunny into it, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, it's weirdly makes sense for the short amount of time that he's in it and the role he plays, and I was totally fine with it. And I never felt like any other characters were cameo for cameo's sake, apart from one, which I don't even really want to spoil, and I tried to be coy about it in my review as well, even though you should know what I'm talking about it when I say it. But a certain skunk has a very split second cameo on screen, and then there's a very quick joke about a certain animated character being cancelled. So, but most of the time it was a lot of fun. But I think this is probably I don't know. I cannot picture another movie coming out this year like vying for what was the funniest movie of 2026.
Wow. So impressed.
I would be shocked. In combination of two things, how many comedies do we get every year? The number is dwindling. And this movie, I think, just knows exactly what it's trying to be, which is it's just trying to be dumb, stupid, Looney Tunes, slapstick humor. It's just, and it's fun.
All right. Very keen to check that out in the next month or so when it comes. All right, next on the list is Silenced.
Silenced was my second documentary. Also of note, it's directed by Selena Mills, who directed that Poster Boy Becoming Ziz, which I talked about a couple weeks ago as well on Stan. Last week, there you go, time flies. So this one is, it's sort of being promoted, like when you look it up, it's like it's like saying it's about Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, which is in it, involved, because the main person is Jennifer Robertson, who's a lawyer who worked with Amber Heard on the UK trial, which not the American one, which was the one that was streamed and everyone commentated on or whatever. But so it does have Amber Heard in it, talking about Heard versus Depp. It has Brittany Higgins in it, talking about her case where she was sexually assaulted in, of all places, Parliament House. And then you've got the other main person is Catalina Navarro, who's this editor for this magazine in, say, Argentina, maybe? I don't know. Could have been, I don't know. Somewhere around there. Could be. And she, it's like this interconnected stories and then commentary also from other people, including Jennifer Robinson a bit, about basically the silence of women's voices when they come out about sexual abuse allegations. Of course, you've got Harvey Weinstein's brought up in this, Diddy, Conor McGregor, Trump. Like there's a nearly a we list off some people at some point of prominent people who are quote unquote apparently cancelled, but are currently sitting as president of the United States and whatever else, but and sort of covers it. So the movie's not about, and I think this is if this is one of those movies where I'm like, oh, man, I hope this doesn't spread to the wrong side of the internet, because it's going to get user review hate bomb straight away. But it's like, so it starts with talking about the UK trial of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. But the interesting thing about that, which even I didn't really know because I didn't pay too much attention, to be completely honest, to either of the trials, for better or worse, just because I do not partake in all the nonsense, was that the UK trial was actually Johnny Depp versus The Sun, because The Sun wrote a story about Johnny Depp's abuse, and they asked Amber Heard to come basically speak and be a witness to help The Sun's case. So it was never actually, Amber Heard never actually did an interview for The Sun or gave anything to them. And she was not actually on the case or anything like that. She simply stepped in because she wanted to help validate the story, because she knows it to be true. And that's why she stepped in. But everyone talks about like Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. The one that they did in the US was obviously like this hot. He then took it to a US court so he could, because he lost the case, and then he has to get his honor back, basically, which is another part of this that they talk about. And it's like how men throughout history have always had this. They used to do battles. They point out how they used to, men over in the 1800s, that men have always been very protective of their honor. And it's like they used to let men do battles, and just made me think of that Adam Driver movie. When to earn back their honor, they were allowed to fight the people who accused them of things. And now they're like, if men, especially big celebrities or whatever, if they feel they've lost their honor, they just take someone to court to win back their honor or whatever. But then you also have the Brittany Higgins stuff, talking about what happened to her, and the court case she got put through, where she was basically shoved through, multiple court cases, and it's sort of like this whole trying to wear her down to not want to talk about what happened to her. The Catalina Navarro thing is, she wrote about, I can't remember the director's name, and no, it was Carlo something or other. She wrote about this director who she had multiple sources of for sexual misconduct, different things, and she wrote about it, and then suddenly was getting sued, 3-4 times. It's like the counteract to, as per the name, is about how people try to silence people. They talk about this one case, which I looked up again so I could put it in my review, but now I forgot it. It's like Navarro versus Navarro or some shit. I don't know. But it was crazy because they talk about in this where it's a woman writes on Facebook and says that her husband strangled her. The husband then takes her to court for discrimination or whatever, like posting online and saying that. She wins but doesn't win because the court findings agree that the husband did strangle her and that there is proof to it. But then they get down to the dictionary meaning of what strangle means. And if he did actually mean to strangle her or they try to argue about the difference between strangle and strangulation. And they show one point where the defense lawyer is saying something like, no, he wasn't trying to strangle her. He was simply trying to shut her up. So that's why he was holding his mouth there like that. It's like this whole weird, I'm like, man, there's some crazy shit going on in the world, I tell you right now. Yeah. I think my only problem with this, as much as I enjoyed the overall narrative jump between different people and overall agree with the general core concept of the documentary and everything, is that the core head speaker piece and the person on the poster, Jennifer Robinson, doesn't feel like she necessarily needed to be in the movie, and it felt a little bit like she was just trying to promote her book, in which she talks about a lot of this stuff, and it seems like a weird tie-in. But although she has a moment in this where she's speaking to her grandmother, and I could have used more of that because her grandmother used to work for women. She spent like nearly 20 years working for like a women's shelter, like women who go through domestic violence and could come to her, and she was speaking about that. And then she has a really sad line towards the end of the documentary where her grandmother says that she thinks that nothing's got better, if not worse, and that's terrible. But then the other part of Jennifer Robinson just felt a little bit like, why are you being centered as the stuff? Like, I understand. I'm not saying she's shilling in life or anything like that to that degree. I'm just saying it felt like she wasn't like she could have been part of the documentary, but I don't know if she needed to be the main, like the person it was figured around, like centered around, oddly. But yeah, I would recommend. It was I mean, it's good and terrible at the same time.
All right, next film I got on my list is Minotaur, a film that was at Cannes this year and won the Grand Prix.
This was the one I was 5 minutes late to.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I very quickly figured out the movie just starts with a couple having an awkward fight, which is about what this movie is about. So this movie is very obviously meant to be both this highly critical, so set in Russia, right during pretty much right as they're like setting off troops to go start the war with Ukraine. It's like 20, I don't know, 22 maybe? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. But I think it's around 2022. And it follows this guy, Gleb, there I got character names, he's like the CEO of a transport shipping company. And then he has a wife, Galina, who we very quickly learn at the start of the movie is cheating on him because he's a dick and boring. And that much is obvious very quickly. And it's sort of hard to talk about without full spoilers, but it's like, it feels like the movie is both at times trying to be, and their relationship is trying to be an allegory for a Russian's relationship, like a citizen of Russia or someone that's born in Russia, which the director is. Well, no, he doesn't live in Russia anymore because I don't think he would be allowed back there. I'm pretty sure he would get killed. But Andrei Vernyatsky said, I can't say his name. But it feels like it's like almost like someone's like, it's like you've got this relationship and it feels like maybe it's an allegory for his relationship with his own country. But then at the same time, the movie is playing out over time what happens to these people, to the point that Gleb gets asked by let's say it's the mayor, I can't remember, of the town where this is taking place, and says, from above, we've got to have more people get enrolled to go join the fight, basically. Go join the army to join the fight. I need 14 people from you. I need 14 from you, 21 from you. Like, he's talking to all these CEOs of big companies. And the way that Gleb decides to go about handling this, because he's such a little bitch, is that he makes a fake job hiring. He goes to his assistant, who's rude to all the time as well. And he goes to his assistant and says, "Oh, I'm going to start a new trucking. We're going to add a new trucking route. Can you hire me 14 people with army backgrounds? And that would be good." And then she puts together this team of 14 people who he's then just going to give all the names to the other guy to then just be magically randomly draft to go join the thing. And he just has such a cold reaction to all of that. I'll say the film builds towards violence eventually with the Galena cheating story, but the way in which they build to that and tease the violence is probably the thing that I thought was most interesting from a filmmaking point of view. There is one scene where, I don't know, slight spoilers, I guess, I don't know, but there's a scene where Galena is having her and her boyfriend, they head to the bedroom, and then as they begin making out or whatever and having sex, the camera begins like spinning around the room very slowly in a 360, and this like tense music starts to build. And then by the time the camera gets all the way back to the bed after doing a full 360, and it's like after they're done fucking and they're just laying there, nothing happens. I was saying slight spoilers, but like the movie does this a fair few times where it'll just, in another movie, that camera would pan around the room. There'd be someone standing there or something. It's like it just slowly teases it. Yeah, and then I'll say the last shot of the film is also super interesting. It's very haunting. You sort of just stare at this screen for a while going, what am I looking at here? What's this point? Like, what do we, oh, right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I can't really say about spoiler reasons, but yeah, I think it's a very haunting ending to it, but fantastic performances as well, especially between the two leads. Especially the woman, what's her name? Iris Lebedeva, who plays Galena. She's fantastic. And even you can tell like a performance is really good even when you're watching a movie with subtitles, and then just the nuance even still comes through. There's a part in the film where she comes home drunk, and then Gleb's like says to their son, like, "What do you want to order for pizza?" And then the son's like, "Pepperoni pizza or something." And she's like, "Pepperoni, pepperoni. I always get the same fucking thing. Blah, blah, blah." Like just being like, I was just like, the fact that I'm getting just this nuance through this, even though I don't speak Russian, I appreciate it. So I don't have a review up yet, but this it's probably gonna be like a 9-ish sort of thing. It's really, really good. Really, really good character piece. Like just some interesting aspects.
Next film on the list is Victorian Psycho, starring one of your favorites, Michael Monroe.
I think this is my least favorite thing I watched. As disappointing as that is, this is an odd movie. I think I just gave it I gave it a 4 or something like that. But it's a weird movie. It starts, and no fault of Michael Monroe, Jason Isaacs, Thomasin McKenzie, Ruth Wilson, all these like really good actors that are in it. It's just like odd. I don't understand what the tone was or what we were going for. It starts with Michael Monroe looking fucking tilted head weird into the camera. Obviously something's off with her. VO says, "I'm the sanest person I've ever met." I'm like, obviously you're not, because no one that's sane says that. She arrives at this house where she's going to be new governess and look after the kids. Quickly after that, you see her get into violence and start killing people. But then I'm just like, it's just played for comedy constantly. But then sometimes I feel like it was meant to be scary and play into other elements. And I was just constantly confused about if this movie was meant to be a horror comedy, a parody of like Wuthering Heights and shit, but with a 1800s Norman Bates female character as the lead. I was just confused. Tonally, it didn't work for me. It's like there was one scene I really liked, and then the rest I was just confused about what I was watching. I was getting like genre whiplash a bit, and I just could not. My mind couldn't settle for what the director was going for with this one, and I found it really odd. And by the end of the movie, I didn't feel anything fulfilling because I'm like, I don't like this character. I'm watching them. And that's what I was like, is this supposed to be a Dexter thing? Because she talks about actually wanting to look after these children, do good at the house, but then she's doing these things, and I'm like, is this because she can't help herself? But I'm like, but in Dexter, you like the guy. I'm like, what am I supposed to? I don't like this guy. And then everyone else sucks, basically, apart from Thomasin McKenzie character. But she's only like support. Is like the Jason Isaacs, Ruth Wilson, the kids suck. I'm watching Micah Monroe's obviously a villain. She's killing people. Who the fuck do I care about in this movie?
Next up, we've got a film called Our Effed Up World.
Our Effed Up World is the new film from Alice Mayo McKay. Yes, that's my page loaded. I think this is about her 8th movie. She puts out like 2 movies a year at this stage. I swear to God. So I've talked about some of her movies before, T Blockers or Bad Girl Bogey or something like that. But I mean, I think she's 21 and she has 8 films to her credit. So, this one follows Sherry, who is and her friends, who I don't know. I like this one simply because, to be completely honest, it is a film in which a lot of the characters hang out at a video store. A lot of the movie, and you put a video store in a movie in the year 2026, and I'm probably going to already like it. Yeah, they hang out there and this stuff, and then all of a sudden, her dad's like I don't know, like some meteor watch dude or whatever you want to call it, meteorologist. And then this fucking meteor lands, and this alien creature comes out of it, and I don't really know. I mean, the movie's barely over an hour, so it's very quickly to spoil it. But it's like I think she described it like it's sort of in the opening, because she was there at the screening. I think at the start it's like she spoke about Doctor Who and X-Files even, I think, or something, but definitely Doctor Who. Or like, no, I think it said something about failed CW pilots, and all of these things tick the boxes. It is like a barely feature length, teen. I mean, you could watch it. It's not really a horror movie. It's like sci-fi horror where it's like there's a sort of gross looking monster, but it's also shitty special effects and whatever else, whatever. And the characters are fun, bit of drama or whatever. But I mean, to be honest, the whole Our Effed Up World is basically to do with the fact of, without spoiling, it's like the alien. The alien comes down to basically feed off us, but it's not doing a good job of it because humans suck. So it's not getting good energy off us, more or less. It's like, well, there you go. Yeah, and then between that's obviously the characters have to team up, take down monster or whatever else. But the funnest part of this, much like the rest of her movies, have been the cast and the characters and just them. Yeah, I mean, they're talking shit in the video store and stuff like that. At times, it sort of felt like a cross between, I don't know, I feel like maybe Clerks crossed with an episode of Doctor Who would sort of be maybe something I'll head towards. I haven't written my review yet, but yeah, maybe that. Maybe it's Clerks crossed with a weird episode of Doctor
Who. All right. Next, I've got The Sun Never Sets. This is the film starring Dakota Johnson, Jake Johnson. No, Dakota Fanning and Jake Johnson. Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Fanning. Dakota Johnson is the one that's in 10 movies a year, and Dakota Fanning's in maybe 2. This is directed and written by Joe Swanberg, who I think this is his first feature, maybe second. I don't know. Anyway, but I mostly know him as an actor. But
He's got a few films listed, it looks like.
Okay. I don't know if he had done that many features. Oh, he's done a few here. A lot more than I thought.
I mean, Drinking Buddies is the only one that I really know of.
Yeah, Drinking Buddies or he's part of the he was part of the I don't know, you call it mumblecore group of people, including like that early 2000s alongside Greta Gerwig and whatever. So the film follows Dakota Fanning, who is in a relationship with Jake Johnson's character, Jack. And he has 2 kids, not with her, with a ex. And at the start of the movie, because they have very different lifestyles, he's like I don't know, he's into finance or some shit. He's got money either way. Very different sort of person. She likes going out on hikes. He doesn't really. She wants to buy a boat, likes going on the ocean. He doesn't really. By all accounts, and this is where the movie goes in an interesting direction, odd directions. By all accounts, they have a really happy relationship, and yes, they're not into all the same extracurricular activities. She doesn't seem to care at all, but Jack Johnson's character, well, his character is just called Jack, so Jake Johnson's character, Jack, that's confusing. He's like, no, you know what we need to do? We need to take a break. So what I want you to do is I want you to take 6 months. I want you to get out there. You can date if you want to. Maybe you find something, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't date. Maybe you just go explore. Maybe just, find yourself. And then, 6 months, I'll still be here. And then you can have your place and we'll go back to life and whatever else. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm in love with you. I love your kids. Your kids love me. Let's stay here. And he's like, no, I really think you need to do this. Pushes away, says, let's go do that. She hates the idea at first. But then she attempts to do as is the story. And she bumps into one night her ex that she was in love with and then begins dating him all of a sudden. And then has this conversation with Jack where she's like, hey, I'm doing that thing and I'm going to commit to it now. So I'm probably not going to contact you because I ran into my ex and we're spending a bunch of time together. And then he's like, by spending time together, do you mean sleeping together? And she's like, well, yeah. And by spending time together, what do you mean? And she's like, well, we just spent like 3 days together camping and stuff. And then Jake Johnson's character is like, oh my God, what the fuck have I done? And why did I do it? So now you have a weird love triangle because Jack Johnson's character, Jack, has pushed this girl into this scenario. And she's now confused as fuck and no one knows what they want. She still loves Jack, but also loves her other Chuck, I think is the guy's name. She also loves him now run into. And then at times Jack's like, maybe I'll move on, but then he doesn't really want to. And then Chuck, I think loves Wendy. You assume Dakota Fanning's character, but also he's a bit of a weird, different sort of dude, a lot different to Jack. And by the end of the movie, my takeaway was, you know what? Even in your 30s and 40s, people don't know what the fuck they want, and people are confusing as fuck, and life is confusing as fuck, and that's the takeaway. And I very much enjoyed it. It's a very interesting character piece that is, at times, I don't know if it's meant to be funny, but at times it is funny, especially with Jake Johnson's delivery on some of the lines, especially when he's like, oh, why the fuck did I do that? I'm like, I think this is supposed to be sad, but it's kind of funny because you're an idiot. It's like, why did you put yourself in this scenario? But yeah, Dakota Johnson, fuck me now. Dakota Fanning is fantastic in this. Jake Johnson, Corey Michael Smith also fantastic. Overall, it's a bunch of people being really good actors in a very character-focused setting and scenario. And it is a very weird movie in which you're like, could something like this happen that people end up in such a weird scenario? I'm sure they do. Weirder things have happened. And also, yeah, it's just sort of, I don't know. Sometimes you watch a movie that's not Hollywood, which this isn't, because it's not that like everything's just lovey-dovey and automatically fixed or whatever else. And sometimes people are weird and confusing, and that's life. And I think that's the point of this movie. And I liked it because of that.
All right. Next one on the list is Big Girls Don't Cry, which I'm hoping is an adaptation of the Fergie song.
Is definitely not an adaptation of the Fergie song. Big Girls Don't Cry is a New Zealand film from Paloma Schneiderman. It's set worth pointing out, set in 2006, and this movie makes me feel really old because it's like, we're setting in the past. Why? So we can use things like fucking MSN Messenger and have that a big fucking point of the film, and even have this ancient technology. There's even a point in the film where, because this back when people had buttons on their phones, of course, and touchscreens. And I remember in high school, it's like, yes, everyone, you did want a cool little case to put over your phone. You used to be able to get like different, I don't know, fucking Star Wars or Hello Kitty or whatever and shit like that. And at some point, the main character in this film, which is I think she's 12 or whatever, she like walks 14. She walks up to this other girl and like says to put a number in it, and the girl goes, "Oh, cool case." I was like, man, this movie's making me feel so old. But it's just so many like early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s references. It's fucking wild. The movie is about this 14-year-old girl, Sid, who is it's like between, I guess, the school holidays, or like between, no, I think it's like
holidays.
Yeah, it's our summer holidays. Yeah, our Christmas break. And during the time, what she gets up to and what she's going for at the time, which is basically discovering herself or trying to discover herself. And that is a mix of pushing away her friend to go hang out with or attempt to hang out with the quote unquote cool girls, who are getting her to hang out with older guys who shouldn't be talking to girls her age, and drinking alcohol and sneaking off and these assortment of things. She also has her sister is staying with her and brings a friend, who's played by Rain Spencer, who's very good in this, who she's like from America or something like that, and she very obviously quite likes her. She's another hot, cool girl. And the movie at the start, sort of, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler. I don't think it does, but there's like an early, maybe like 20 minutes, half an hour into it, where it's like I don't know how to say it's not nice without being weird, but there's a scene where it's like she's masturbating in bed, and the camera sort of starts on a poster on a wall. It's like of a topless dude or whatever, and there's two girls in a bikini behind it. But the camera does this really smart thing where it's like the camera sort of turns to look at the girl in the bikini. So the movie is it's obviously about her trying to discover herself and the fact that she's gay, but she doesn't have anyone in her life or anyone, I guess, in the media at this time or whatever to look for, to talk to, whatever these things. So it's sort of about her discovering herself and doing that. So it's like, yeah, she wants to hang out with the cool girls who are hanging out with the cool guys or whatever the guys. She wants to hang out with the cool blonde girl because she thinks the cool blonde girl's hot, you know. The movie doesn't ram it over your head, I guess, that this is a discovering your sexuality story, but that's very much what it is. And I sort of enjoyed its, I don't know, simple's the right word, but more nuanced take maybe on that as well. Of a standout in this is Noah Taylor, who plays Sid's father. And every time he's on screen, he's both a terrible dad, but also good screen presence, because he doesn't care or keep up really with what his kids are doing, and complains a lot about everything. And yeah, he's both shown to be a terrible but caring father, but also Noah Taylor is just, yeah, I think he's having some fun playing this character, I think, a bit. Yes, I think it's a movie that's like the director, in her opening speech or whatever for an introduction for the film, said, she said, "I wish this is the movie I watched when I was 14, but don't let 14-year-olds watch it because they definitely shouldn't be allowed to," or something like that. I think like after watching it, I was like, oh, I sort of understand that sentiment more, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was really, really good. It's got some great performances. The weirdly making it the technology focus, and MSN is a huge part of the film, including logging in under someone else's account and messaging and like the way the writing, and just I don't know. There's a weird nostalgia for that, which is both disgusting and weird at the same time. But yeah, really good.
Cool. Last film I got on the list, which I think is all of them now. The big DreamWorks film of the upcoming season, Forgotten Island.
Quick tangent for this one was, so we go into the screening, they make everyone put their phones in those privacy screening bag things, which I'm sure you've used as well.
I've had a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, so you do that, and there's two notes to this story, which is A, they had technical problems, couldn't start the movie for an hour. So everyone's sitting in the cinema.
Was this the last film that you...
No. So luckily, this was before I watched Big Girls Don't Cry. Luckily, I knew that I had about an hour and a half between them, and it was in the exact same cinema. So I'm like, that shit's getting delayed. This shit's getting delayed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Okay.
And I knew that between the Big Girls Don't Cry and the next one, I was supposed to have enough time to have lunch, and none of that ever happened on this day now because everything got scrapped to go to the title because of the fucking delays. Anyway. So we're sitting there. I'm like, this is crazy. Everyone's sitting there with no phones. There's some little kids in here. Everyone's going insane. Like, no one can do anything. And then the other funny thing was there was an old dude at the end of the aisle down from me, and he didn't put his phone into one of the bags. And then he got this huge argument with one of the people. Oh, I shouldn't have to do that, blah, blah, blah. And the guy, I just eavesdropping in the conversation. It's like, it's the producers of the movie. He's like, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, all right, we're going to ask you to leave. And he's like, no, I'll do it then. What, it's this whole, I'm just sitting there going like, dude, just
put your phone in the bag.
Put your phone in the bag. Like, how fucking hard is it?
I mean, did you know beforehand? I guess
it's weird. They had the people at because I've had it a couple times.
Like, was it on the ticket or whatever?
No, there's just, so you got it, they had it not up from the candy bar, but like where the stairs where to walk up to the actual cinema. They had two dudes on each side.
No, but what I'm saying, before you bought the ticket, did you know?
No, I think it said it on the screening that it.
Yeah,
I think it had
like on the website or whatever. Yeah.
On the website
when you booked,
sure.
so
I think
it was
so,
like they were pre-warned.
Yeah.
Okay,
but still,
that's fine.
It's not a big deal. Like,
I mean, people get iffy about that stuff,
But the thing is, like, you can't take my phone, and the guy's like, "I'm not taking your phone. You're going to put your phone in the bag,
so you can't
and
use
you can keep it. I'm not taking it." Like, anyway, weird. Forgotten Island. Fantastic, loved it. Had a great time after it started an hour late. But so this one follows. I can't remember the characters' names, and I don't have them in front of me. Anyway, so it's Joe and something. Joe and Riser. There we go. So Joe and Riser meet as, I don't know, primary school equivalent or something like that. And it's because Joe is kicked out of her class because the film opens with her doing a family show and tell or something. And she's talking about all these monsters and stuff from this world of Nakalia, which is this story that her grandmother's told her about. The ancient lost island where there's magical creatures and all sorts of stuff. And also some fucked up sounding ones, including like a vampire being that turns into half. And when she does that, blood she gets, the teacher stops the class. She's like, oh man, the blood was just about to go everywhere. It was about to be in the splash zone. Stuff like that. And then she's kicked out and waiting outside the principal's office. Then Bryce shows up, who's very much the opposite. So if Joe's like the outgoing, sort of like crazy vibe, Risa is the like, straight A student or whatever. And then it cuts to her like getting upset about what the teacher and some of the students said about Joe. So then she gets sent to the principal, and then they become friends. And they grow up throughout the years, and they make this whole like pact that they're going to find a way to get to this island, Nakalia. And then, of course, they're now older. Rice is about to head off to America to study there, and then you get the classic movie thing.
If people didn't realize,
yeah, sorry, it's set in the Philippines, and it's all the lore is based on Filipino. Mythology, I guess, yeah. So it's like their last night together, and of course, the entrance to the mystical island opens up. But when they land there, they come to, the memory's been wiped. They can't actually remember the night before, which was actually their real first night on the Kalia. And some things have happened, including the fact that some of them now have tattoos. Bryce has shaved off half her head. And also they have a talking dog friend, were creature, which is called Raw, which is a wild name, and is voiced by Dave Franco. He turns between both a dog-like creature, a human face, and also if he runs into sticks, he says he'll go full dog, which just means that he just turns into a real puppy dog and can't help but control himself and chase half the stick if he sees the stick. So there's some fun elements to have there. So then basically they've lost the medallion thing in the night. They can no longer remember before. Then the medallion things needed to get home, and they need to get home. Well, Joe doesn't want to get home because it means her best friend's going to leave her, but Risa wants to get home, or they have 5 hours to get home or something, because that's when her plane to America is going to be going, and that's when she'll be going off to school. So begin the retracing their steps from the night before they cannot remember to find out where they have left this medallion. Along the way, hijinks ensue, including meeting a creature of some sort, which is basically a giant baby, to the point that when they get this giant baby to join their group and help them go looking for the medallion, the giant baby actually has to cut its umbilical cord from its mother, which is still there. There's some weird shit in this movie. And also a merman character, which is one of the most ridiculous things I think I've seen in animated form in a very, very long time. The animation, the DreamWorks thing is very much that let's do the Sony Spider-Man film inspired stuff. What are we calling that style? I don't know. Like the hyper stylized cross between American animation and anime, I guess, a little bit. Like there are scenes where, like bubbles are popping up above characters with angry faces. There are cuts between when Raw starts talking about flashback sequences about what he did the night before, and suddenly he's like a ripped dude and he's like super anime looking. There are cuts to 2D animation. Like this film just plays around with different animation styles sort of consistently. All of it is beautiful and stunning. And overall the animation in this film is sensational. And I had a great time. I think the two characters are fantastic. I think the core message, I guess you could argue, is, the power of friendship. We've seen it done before or whatever. It is encompassed in something a little bit different this time, at least, and the Filipino law influences and whatnot, the Kali Island and all that's very different. The world it's not like it's definitely, I think it's riding on the cusp of that PG rating where it might be a little bit too scary for younger kids at times, like especially when it comes to the demon monster thing. I'm not saying it's like some super violent or anything like that, but it definitely has like, dark, scary monster at nighttime and, the way they animate it and whatnot. I could get the sense that it could be scary for some younger kids, but yeah, I think it's fantastic. I had a great time. I laughed out loud several times. The two performances from the girls and the timing on some of the jokes paired with Raw and the other odd characters, the merman in particular, which you just have to see to believe, and the baby, which I still can't believe is a thing. I watched the trailer back and I was like, is the baby in the trailer? Because I don't remember seeing it. And the baby just stood out so much to me watching the film. And I went back and watched the trailer. I'm like, no, they don't show the baby or the merman in the trailer. You can see him in the background in some shots, but the trailer don't feature these characters. They're a prominent part of the movie though, so have fun with that. And they're the standouts, to be completely honest. So yes, it's very good. You'll love it, I think, to be honest.
Great. Coming to Australian cinemas 17th of September. So yeah, that's all the films Dylan watched this week. Technically. Let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. I actually did watch some stuff this week. So there's was the new film Freefall, A Reckoning for Boeing, that released this week, which is a sequel to the 2022 film Downfall, The Case Against Boeing.
I think I watched that.
Yes, I believe you talked about it before. I watched it for the first time this time. So it's very much goes into there's two major accidents that happens involving Boeing planes around 2019 or so, involving the new Boeing 737 Max, which result from a new system that they introduced into the planes, but didn't inform anybody about because they were trying to cut corners, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. That effectively, because of a faulty sensor, it caused the rear tail wing to adjust to try and lower the nose of the plane automatically by design, and it was constantly because of the faulty sensor, it was constantly doing this, resulting in the planes just crashing because there was nothing really the pilots could do. And the documentary kind of goes into kind of, I guess, the cover up. It talks to a lot of the victims or relatives of the victims. The first person we talked to here in the documentary is the wife of the pilot of one of the planes and how they found out and that kind of stuff. So it goes into these different crashes and then goes into the cover up Boeing was running to cover up, the corners they were cutting. They didn't want to, how they were kind of, for the last, 20 years, they've been losing ground to Airbus as their main competitor in the airline space. So with new fuel, Airbus releasing a plane with new fuel efficient planes, Boeing tried to speed through, quickly put through a new plane that would kind of match them so they could keep their sales up. But they didn't want to, they wanted to add this new feature or whatever, but they didn't want to have any extra training because that would result in airlines having to spend more money on pilots having to take this training, that kind of stuff. So they're we'll just do it automatically. We'll just, we won't address any of this stuff. And they kind of swept it all in the rug. So that's what that documentary about. The new documentary is very much in the wake of a very public whistleblower called John Barnett, who briefly appeared in the first documentary as a person who came out and talked against Boeing. But it's kind of centered around that he died, right? He was in the middle of questioning in a case against Boeing, seemingly taking his own life, but there are questions and that kind of stuff. And then it dives into a lot of the history of the Boeing and how Boeing used to be a really meticulous company and very safety first. They built this reputation of being the safest way to fly for many, many years. But then they merged with another company and a lot of their leadership kind of came in and was we want to make money as quickly as possible. We're all about growth. Who cares about safety? Who cares about doing the right thing? We want to get as many planes made as possible. They go into how they started a second factory in the main Boeing factory is, I believe, Seattle. And Seattle, Boeing was a big part of Seattle, is an important foundational thing up there. They built Seattle is a union town. So everybody working in that factory is unionized. So they set up another factory in I don't know, Arkansas or something like that. This middle of the nowhere town that they could get a bunch of non-union workers to go make planes over there. And they were not making them safely. They point out during this documentary a bunch of defects in planes and things that they would do. I think the most egregious of, they would mark parts as defective, do not put in planes, and somehow they would all end up in planes.
Be a waste not to.
Which it would be a waste not to. And now these planes are all over the world. Nobody can track them back. It's very concerning. Yeah, I think probably the most famous. They have people talk about the video of the one where the door came off. Do you remember seeing that video in mid-flight? And then they explained why that happens. It's because they were like doing some adjustments and like took off like the door plugs to like make those adjustments. Those door plugs were never put back on onto the plane. So like every time the plane would go off and land and that kind of stuff, the door would slightly move a little bit until it finally just came off its hinges or whatever. So wild, crazy story. A lot obviously does get to a lot of other whistleblowers who come out after the death of John Barrett and that kind of stuff, and like trying to push against Boeing. And obviously they have seen some penalties, clearly not enough, and like they're pushing for leadership of Boeing to actually face criminal charges and that kind of stuff because of negligence and averting safety and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that comes to fruition one day. I'll tell you what I did after watching this documentary.
Never fly.
Check my kind of plane I'm going to vaccine, and it seems like all Virgin Australia has Boeing planes, so that's very concerned.
Very good.
Might have to update my will before I
No,
leave.
that's fine if you're telling me, because I only fly Virgin, so.
Yeah. So watch it if you're interested, but if you're a regular flyer, maybe avoid this, because if you're a nervous flyer, definitely do not watch these documentaries,
That's why I won't fly anywhere.
Yeah. But yeah, very fascinating documentaries. Dylan, you did manage to squeeze in time before you've watched the what is it called? Conversations with a Killer, the Charles Manson tapes.
I watched this on the airplane.
Okay.
Downloaded it for the trip, It's an episode each way. It was all right. I don't think if you've watched anything to do with Manson before, I don't think this offers anything new.
Nothing additive other than its tapes.
No, I don't think it has anything additive. And the Manson tapes had never been. I think they were marketing it on the not being heard or seen before. I think it's barely used in it. It's like every now and then you interject some Manson rhetoric over the top of some footage or whatever. But all in all, I would say it's a okay. It's not the best. I've seen better documentaries on Manson than this. I think it's an okay 3-episode documentary into Manson. I think if you don't know anything about Manson, this is you'll get more out of this. I do think I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, as I suggested, but I know I've seen a better movie feature length documentary on Manson, because I watched a bunch of them when I was younger because I'm sicko. I don't know. Yeah, it's
Helter Skelter.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the box art or some shit to recognize.
I mean, that's the first one. Oh no, that's 2020.
No,
2009 was a film called Manson.
No, it's older than that, I think. Yeah, it's okay. It's at least it's 3 episodes. It does a decent job of explaining things. They don't just lay into the big, Sharon Tate stuff either. Make sure to go into other circulating factors and the other things and whatever else. But they have some interviews with people who were part of his cult as well here, so at least that's something as well. Who got out of it. One of them still seems like she's still part of it, to be completely honest. But yeah, it's okay.
And then you also watched a documentary called Chompu, Lost and Forgotten.
Yeah, this is so this is was this I can't remember what country was this? Was this Thailand?
I believe
so. There? Yeah, correct. So this girl goes missing and from a village, and they look for her for days and they find her dead body. She's dead. So then of course the investigation into her begins. Now, I don't really know how to talk about this without slightly spoiling it. But the main focal point of this documentary is about how the internet basically ruined this investigation. I'm on like a real string of why the internet's bad documentaries and stuff lately, I swear. But it really is. It focuses on how there's a guy that becomes the focal point of the case. In a like he's on TV all the time talking about how everyone should be searching for it, and he like develops this internet fan base to the point that a bunch of YouTubers come and set up a YouTuber camp basically so they can be near this guy, and he's on TV all the time and whatnot. And it's like this case that turned from looking for the who killed this innocent little girl is now about this guy, and then he becomes a murder suspect in the case because what the fuck was this guy doing the whole time? And then by this point, everyone's developed this parasocial relationship with this guy that they're like, no, it couldn't be him because he's so nice, all these sorts of things. So then the trial isn't working well, and all these it's confusing. It is one of the I do think it's one of the better documentaries I've watched this year. I also think it's one of the weirdest fucking things I've watched this year, just from I still have so many questions and I'm not going to get them. And then also, how the fuck do we end up in this stage where it's just like, what? You just see the guy. Anyway, watch it. It was good.
All right. That's everything in our watch history. Let's move on to a tiny bit of film news.
Thank fuck. Never accuse me of not watching anything ever again.
No. Yeah, congrats. Never again?
I'll watch some more stuff. That's fine.
Next year?
I started The Pit today.
Oh. We'll talk about that next week then.
Yeah, let me watch at least more than 2 episodes.
All right. All right, so we know more about this Jimmy Olsen TV series. Reading from The Hollywood Reporter, HBO Max's next DC series will have a decidedly lighter tone than its current one. The streamer has officially picked up The People vs. Gorilla Grodd, a mockumentary centered on Daily Planet staffer Jimmy Olsen. The 8-episode show will show Jimmy directing and starring in a true crime show that investigates whether Gorilla Grodd was wrongly convicted in one of Metropolis's most famous murders, per the show's logline. Jimmy Tatro will play Gorilla Grodd, the super intelligent ape and sometimes Superman villain. Skylar Gizondo will reprise his role from 2025 Superman, as will Beck Bennett, Michaela Hoover, and Wendell Pierce. Mary Holland, Eduardo Franco, Arian Moayed, Dan Peralt, Andrew Leeds, and Tim Boltz also star. The People versus Gorilla Grodd comes from American Vandals creators Dan Peralt and Tony Gansina, who serve as showrunners. Toronto started in the first season. They put out a Daily Planet advert, I guess is the best way to put it, which reads, Daily Planet announced today it will begin production on an 8-part documentary series that will dive back into Metropolis's most infamous murder trial, The People vs. Gorilla Grodd. It will take a fresh 360-degree look at the case, revealing a less-seen side of the hyper-intelligent ape, according to the film's first-time director, Jimmy Olsen. Olsen was granted unprecedented exclusive access to interview Grodd inside Stryker's Island Penitentiary for the documentary. Gorilla Grodd has long claimed his innocence in the murder and brain consumption of his father, King Grodd, a crime he was convicted of in March 2021, and has remained incarcerated ever since. The series will take an in-depth look at the investigation, featuring new reporting from members of the Daily Planet staff, as well as interviews with the witnesses and experts on both Grodd and the Metropolis District Attorney's side of the case, including Gorilla Grodd's new counsel at the Metropolis Freedom Project. Everyone thinks they know Gorilla Grodd, the power-hungry gorilla who killed his father for the throne of Gorilla City, said Perry White, managing editor of the Daily Planet and the documentary supervising producer. But once you start to look beneath the fur, you start to realize there's a whole lot more to that primate. Dylan, what are your thoughts on The People vs. Gorilla Grodd?
It's very funny, and well, no, here's how it starts. You start reading about it, And you're like, this is very funny. This is such a ridiculous idea. And the further it goes on, you're like, I can't wait to watch this. This is going to be the most interesting case of the year. Whose side will I fall on, you know?
Yeah.
It's a
Will
big
they make
question.
really Grodd a sympathetic figure?
I mean, sounds like it.
I mean, I was like iffy about this project, like we've talked about it a couple of times. I didn't realize the American Vandal cred as well on this. Now I've got a lot more confidence because we like American Vandal, great 2 seasons of television. It's a shame that Netflix didn't renew it for a third or further. We both liked Players, their most recent series, which also got killed off very quickly. Yeah, I mean, this seems like it's just going to be American Vandal in the DCU, right? Like,
I mean,
similar
basically.
setup. Jimmy Austin's going to play the version of the filmmakers, and then it's going to be a similar kind of, you know, I would assume kind of a satire of true crime documentaries and that kind of thing.
With
also
interviews and
informing
stuff like
us
that.
about the state of the DCU. Yeah, so very intriguing. What are the chances that Clark Kent or Lois Lane show up in this? Very small?
I think Lois Lane is a maybe. Clark Kent is a 0.
Maybe Superman saves the day at some point, but that's about it. Like in the
background, very small,
like archive footage.
Yeah,
kind of stuff. So very intrigued, very happy to check this one out when it releases sometime. Tangentially, I saw a lot of people upset that this was moving forward when they've, I think in the last couple of weeks, they just announced that both Waller and Paradise Lost are cancelled effectively. They're not moving forward with those 2 projects. How do you feel about, beyond what we know directly, what in the DCU we know Lance is still going to be a thing. Man of Tomorrow is in the works. Clayface is coming out later. Outside of that, nothing is really set in stone.
There's enough going on. Also, I can't get attached to a show idea. Okay. And if, you know, it's hard to be like, yeah, but it was going to be so good. Well, they've deemed it not. I didn't read the scripts. I just, like, it's hard, you know what I mean? People get attached to the idea of something.
You said you were going to do this. Why didn't you follow through?
Yeah.
It's like the Blade thing.
Yeah, but that's not how, it's just not how an industry works, yeah.
All right, other story that caught my eye this week. Probably more out of amusement, but reading from Deadline, Amazon is in choppy waters after accidentally leaking Jason Statham's latest big budget action pick, Mutiny, on his Prime Video service days before the movie is released in theaters. Deadline understands that the movie was up for a matter of hours earlier this week after a mistake led to it being posted on Prime's product detail page that typically shows trailers. Some subscribers couldn't believe what they were watching. One posted to X, "I'm watching Jason Statham's new movie, Mutiny, streaming on Amazon for free right now. This has to be a huge mistake, right? My theater has showtime starting this week." Another user said, "Someone is getting fired over at Amazon. They uploaded Jason Statham's new movie Mutiny on Prime a day before it hit theaters." Lionsgate is releasing the action thriller this weekend in US theaters, and one of a number of buyers understood to be very unimpressed. According to multiple sources close to the project, the film is already being pirated in different territories. That's a problem for Lionsgate and potentially an even bigger problem for international buyers, some of whom who aren't releasing it until later. We heard the film opened well in France and the Middle East yesterday, but the leak snafu came before the leak snafu came to light. Now the question we're hearing from those close to the film is what Amazon, a premium VOD partner on the pick, can or will do to make good. Dylan, what do you think of this situation? Will we see any ramifications, or is just Amazon going to pay some people some money and hope it goes away?
Amazon's just going to pay some people some money and hope it goes away. But the thing that's most interesting to me about this is just simply the fact that the movie, prior to it even being in the cinema, is already primed and ready on Prime for its presumably very quick turnaround from cinema to streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
That it's already sitting there that someone can fuck this up and accidentally make it go live. You know, like it's already there. It's not even in.
They've already got
it. They don't even start uploading it 2 weeks after the time it's at the cinema or anything, or getting some box office in. No, it's already fucking loaded in before it even hits the cinemas. Ready to go. That's how quick we're moving from. Let's get that premium VOD happening, you know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the moral of the story here is, and I'm going to victim blame, don't do that.
Don't upload your movie to Amazon before your movie comes out.
Yeah, maybe let's just don't upload your movie
just
until
like put a safety, like they
can't
put it out if it's not there.
How bad's your internet? Like, why are you uploading it? Why do we need to upload it to the fucking server that early, you know? Like,
I know it's the highest of high def, the 8K version.
what 8K is it now?
Well, and then they, compress it. I just that's how it works, right? That's an interesting question. Like, how big do you think like the files are at cinemas?
At cinemas?
Yeah,
hundreds of gigabytes for a movie.
Yeah, so you'd have to assume they send that file to Amazon. If they're sending it here in Australia, that would take weeks.
That's not how it works. What are you talking about?
I mean, the funny thing is, this movie is already on probably Amazon like 3 different times, like The Beekeeper, The Working Man.
Well, I saw a review. The initial reviews aren't promising. So.
No, yeah, I don't think it's. I think it's a wait till it actually properly comes to Prime Video, but crazy. All right, let's move on to talking about some trailers. In tons of trailers. Of course, you can find all the aforementioned trailers in the show notes below. Kicking things off, we've got Whalefall, directed by Brian Duffield, starring Austin Abrams, Josh Brolin, and Elizabeth Shue. A scuba diver searching for his father's remains in the ocean is swallowed by a sperm whale, leaving him an hour to find a way to escape. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for this preposterous concept situation?
Double thumbs up. It's it's a pretty intense trailer for such a on concept silly idea. But I mean, obviously, by the time I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, it's 127 hours, but with a whale. Okay, I get it. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have to give the trailer 2 thumbs up. I mean, did you watch the teaser that came for this earlier in the year?
Don't think I did.
Well, the teaser was more of the lead up to him eventually being swallowed. Like very much him trying to hide from the giant squid and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think terrifying situation. Not keen to watch. I think there's a grossness of him being inside another creature of that scale. I mean, we've seen stories where people get swallowed by whales before, but I think clearly this is Pinocchio, Jonah, One Piece earlier this year. They get swallowed by a whale. This one, I think, horrifically realistic, I would assume. All while he's fucking fighting a squid that's also got swallowed at the same time.
Yeah, Squid Game.
Squid Game. The scary thing is there's air pockets in there. It's like, that's pretty scary. It's not just all water. There's enough in air for you to be in for a little bit. Yeah, pretty scary situation. Whalefall. Interesting title. Coming to cinemas October 15th.
Hideo Kojima came up with it.
Makes sense. Next trailer is for Ghost Soldier, directed by William Eubank.
Hideo Kojima came up with that too. Funny.
Starring Jim Caviezel, Olivia Thirlby, Bo Knapp, Garrett Dillahunt, and Shea Wiggum. A former United States Army Special Forces soldier who designs weapons for a U.S. military research project agency, Henry Fitzgerald must protect his Wyoming neighbors from the aggressive machinations of an asset management company who are employing corrupt law enforcement officers and foreign agents in their attempt to seize their vast swaths of ranch land and water for their own self-gains. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for Ghost Soldier?
Thumbs down. Too much slow-mo, too much B tier nonsense. looks like one of those straight to DVD sequels that you'd see where the first one starred Arnie and then the second one started some random dude you never heard of.
One up, down. One up, one down. Obviously, it's pretty generic looking until he pulls out all the futuristic tech. And that's when it kind of lost me, even more than it kind of had. I think it looks fine. Some of the fighting looks all right. It's Jim Caviezel trying to be John Wick. But yeah, there's just too much. The tone seems a little bit all over the place. Him hamming it up and winking all the time, and and then these crazy weapons that he's pulling out, like invisibility cloaks and tracking bullets and all this kind of stuff. No, I'm good. Unless you're in like a futuristic setting, it's not, or you're a superhero. Not really intrigued. So, Ghost Soldier is coming to US cinemas on the 6th of November. No Australian release date. Next trailer is for Monster, the Lizzie Borden story. Created by Ian Brennan, starring Ella Beatty, Vicky Krieps, Charlie Hunnam, Rebecca Hall, Jessica Barden, Joey Polari, Billy Lord, and Sarah Paulson. On August 4th, 1892, Andrew and Abby Borden are found bludgeoned to death with a hatchet in their home in Fall River, Massachusetts. Their daughter, Lizzie, becomes a prime suspect in their murders. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for the latest Monster series?
I'm going to go one up, one down. I like the stylization, the presentation, and the general production value, but I'm not super. I don't have a lot of faith in this series based on.
Are you colored by the Ed Green series?
A bit.
Season? Was a weird scene.
But this character's mentioned. This person was mentioned in the Ed Gein series, by the way.
Well, I don't think it's too surprising that they're probably going to have ties between each season.
Well,
based on a certain character who shows up with.
I mean, like, I don't.
You know who Sarah Paulson's playing?
No, I don't. Who's she playing?
Playing Eileen something. You know, the one that Charlize Theron played.
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean. Yep.
Yeah, that's who she's playing in this, which I can only assume is a tease to the next season.
Yeah, right? Okay.
But also, it's very weird that you showed that shot in this trailer when it's clearly something set in the 1870s, and now you've got someone in the 2000s.
Unless the series is centered around her talking with her girlfriend about.
Yeah, I mean, this is like foreshadowing or like
something like that, maybe
bookends or something.
Yeah,
but it only makes sense that Sarah Paulson will play her in the next season of the show. You know, I'll go one up, one down. It looks fine. It looks like these shows. You know, I don't know that I've ever heard the Lizzie Borden story. Like, it does sound familiar. Like,
I hadn't heard of it.
All the stuff with like the axe, all the imagination stuff with the axe is really good and that kind of stuff. So
I hadn't heard of it until the Dharma thing. Not the Dharma thing, the Ed Gein series. And then I looked it up because I didn't trust anything that show told me to be close to reality. And it's an interesting, like, the fact that, 1800s killer that everyone thought would be a man, obviously, and whatever. But, I don't trust this series to. It's very. They do very fanatical versions of events, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
All right, Monster, the Lizzie Borden story is coming to Netflix on the 17th of September. Next trailer is for Club Kid, directed by Jordan Firstman, starring Jordan Firstman, Cara Delevingne, Kobe Howell-Baptiste, Colleen Camp, Vicky Pepperdine, Nigel White, Saturn Risen 9, Miss Benny, Alaska Riley, Diego Calva, and Reggie Absalom. The life of a washed-up underground party promoter Peter takes an unexpected turn when he is forced to take care for Arlo, a 10-year-old son he never knew he had. So what did you think of the trailer for this upcoming A24 film?
Double thumbs up. I thought this looked great. I like the overall tone and direction. Just oh my god, I never knew I had a 10-year-old kid, and doing that and pairing up. But also Jordan Fistman. Firstman. He was in I Love LA. I don't know if I'd seen him in anything else prior to that, to be completely honest. But I loved him in I Love LA. So as soon as I started this trailer, I was like, oh, the guy. I'm keen to see the guy. And actually, I like Cara Delevingne. If she can get put into something that makes good use of her. So,
yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up. I thought it was really good. Like, obviously, it's gotten the indie vibe, and obviously, it's like within the queer community and that kind of stuff. This is clearly what they're
A24.
The dynamic with the little kid is really good. Like, there's the joke where he's like, "You can't wear that shirt." It's like, what? I like Bjork. So, I like Bjork and barebacking.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and that kind of stuff. And then the sequence at the end where it was like, fucking bitch. Saying fucking bitch to each other, and the little lady.
You let your kid talk to you that way? Fucking bitch.
Fucking bitch. Reminds me of our favorite words. Little bitch.
Little bitch.
All right. Club Kid is released in the US, limited November 6th. No Australian release date. Final for trailer for this week. Wildwood, directed by Travis Knight, starring Peyton Elizabeth Lee, Jacob Tremblay, Carey Mulligan, Mahershala Ali, Aquafina, Angela Bassett, Jake Johnson, Charlie Day, Amanda Stedberg, Jermaine Clement, Lynn Carew, Maya Erskine, Tansu Cardinal, Tom Waits, Richard E. Grant. Prue McKeel and her classmate Curtis Melberg are drawn into a hidden magical forest near Portland in an attempt to save Prue's kidnapped infant brother Mac from the Crows, who are led by a mysterious woman named Alexandra. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for the latest film from Laika?
Looks like Laika and Studio Ghibli crossover. And I guess by that I just mean in terms of plot or narrative, world direction, or whatever. Looks like something Miyazaki would make. I love that. Double thumbs up. Looks fantastic. This looks huge. I mean, an epic, I guess, in scale and sense of story and everything. So, and that's a lot for, I think, an animated movie to give you that sense in a trailer. I mean, you can watch a trailer for something like Coco or fucking, I don't know, whatever. Some of these things, it's like you see characters go in the big cities and it's like, yeah, okay, cool. But this just gave a sense of like a big fantasy epic movie, you know? So, yeah, super keen for this.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up from me as well. Like, I would be shocked if this is not the Academy Award winner for Best Animated Feature. Just every single shot of this looks incredible. And I don't know. I feel like the fact is going to go over a bunch of kids' heads, but people who know, like, this is stop motion animation. They made every single one of those fucking models. Like, those kids driving under the bridge, going past the underpass, all that kind of stuff. They had to make models of that. All the sequences, that sequence with all the fucking crows all over the playground. It's like, how do you do that? It's like the meticulous, this seems to be like the most big scale, most epic thing that Laika has attempted so far. And just this trailer is just cut kind of beautifully. The song that they're playing, using the arrangement and all that kind of stuff fits perfectly. Yeah, this is like skyrocketed to one of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year. So, very keen for Wildwood. It's coming to Australian cinemas on the 22nd of October. All right, let's move into this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
And Dog Stars is coming this week, starring Jacob Elordi, but also Josh Brolin, directed by Ridley Scott. So this week's top 3 is top 3 Josh Brolin films. Dylan, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is The Goonies. Which is, I mean, a great film by itself, but there's a bunch of people in it. But I mean, Josh Brolin as the older kid is sort of standout in that memorable part. Definitely the first time I remember seeing Josh Brolin and everything, because I watched this when I was, I don't know, 12 maybe. Yeah, Goonies.
My number 3. Let me just preamble by saying, sometimes when we do this, we're like, what are the best movies these people have been in? This week I kind of tackled, but what are the movies I remember Josh Brolin being in the most?
Well, he loves to be a bit player.
He does. He like, it's a lot of the films he's in. He's very much supporting character, so it's harder to like remember that he's actually in them or not. You know. So, my number 3 is Men in Black 3, in which he plays young K and does a incredible impersonation of Tommy Lee Jones. A lot of fun, just kind of like doing kind of this impersonation. And you know, that one's a weird time travel film where Jay goes back in time to see K before the first encounter with aliens, that kind of stuff. So that's one of the earliest films I remember him from. So that's my number 3. Film was number 2.
We're not to Sicario, where most people, obviously the standouts, Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro. But Josh Brolin is the person in that movie. He's the main, I don't know, soldier dude compared to Benicio's secret agent dude or whatever. Yeah, it is not a standout memorable performance compared to the others, but when I was looking for his IMDb, I was like, I do know he's in that. Like, I know in my brain, I'm like, I can picture him and everything. It's just like an important glue role, I think is what we'd call it.
Mm-hmm. My number 2 is Avengers: Infinity War. He plays Thanos, and
He does.
In that film, he like makes Thanos both a like relatable character, but also like the most. I mean, he makes the best villainous performance in the MCU, arguably, in that film. Like, he has the most range, clearly has the most power and that kind of stuff, and has the most interesting motivations and all this kind of stuff. And it's due to like all this had been building to this character, but who we had just been seeing glimpses of and like snippets of a person sitting in a chair. And somehow within one film, Josh Brolin was able to make Thanos like a real threat within the universe and like a really interesting character on top of it. So that's my number 2. Dylan, what's your number 1?
No Country for Old Men. Because it's one of the greatest movies of all time and he's the lead in it.
Is it?
I mean,
it's been a while since I watched that movie. So honestly, the only 2 people that I clearly remember from the No Country for Old Men are Tommy Lee Jones and Javier Bardem. You know.
Really?
Yeah.
Josh Brolin's the guy. He's the guy with what's his face is chasing after, basically.
I was like reading the Wikipedia page, like his name is mentioned like 3 times in the synopsis. So I don't think.
What? I mean, I consider him like. I mean, you could argue Javier Bardem's the main character, but I mean, he's antagonist, I guess. But I view it as Josh Brolin as the.
Again, it's probably been like since the movie came out since I've watched it. So my number 1 is Wake Up Dead Man. This is probably a clear sense of recency bias. It's only been like less than 12 months since I've watched that movie came out.
Oh, the priest.
He plays Monsignor.
In fact, I had to think about that.
Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, who is both the victim and arguably the main antagonist of the film. Like, really great performance. Like, you know, takes center stage, and you're both glad he's dead and sad that. Well, no, you're just glad he's dead. You know, real fireband priest. You know, really fantastic. So yeah, Dylan, this week, what do you watch? Do you want to watch anything else?
Of course.
Have you been filled?
I mean, look, there's always more movies, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
That's there's always more. The Dog Soldiers.
Dog Stars.
Dog Stars? Fucking hell. Look, you've cooked me. I've talked about too many movies this episode. Dog Stars, obviously, new Ridley Scott film. So, keen for that. Apparently, he filmed it with 17 million cameras because he didn't want anyone to do more than one take. Something weird. So why are we doing more than one take? Something I was reading the other day. That's wild. And then
so he can make more movies more quickly. So he can.
Yeah, true. I guess. Yeah.
He's only got so much time.
He's only got so much time. And then on the streaming front, The Whisperman comes to Netflix. That one we watched a trailer for a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Also, Dog Stars. I will say, I Want Your Sex is releasing around Australia. I don't know if I'll be able to get to that. I'm keen to check out Mockbuster, which is about an Australian filmmaker who got a gig working at Asylum, which is the studio behind like Sharknado and all those kind of things. And he just made a documentary about him in that situation. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it does.
On the streaming front, I will say I'm very keen for The Airport Chaplain. Now, Dylan, did you watch any of the World Cup this year?
No, but I know what the show is. Because it's an Australian show.
Featured heavily, promoted heavily during the FIFA World Cup. I feel like it was constantly being showed. So yeah, it stars Hugo Weaving and Shazina. Forgotten how to say her last name.
Shabana Aziz.
Shabana Aziz, that's it. From The Pit, which you'll talk about next week. And Hugo Weaving plays a fixer at the airport, and Shabana plays their new boss. They're conflicting. This is releasing on SBS On Demand here in Australia. I believe, from what I read, they're airing double episodes weekly of the show. It's dropping all at once on SBS, but then airing 2 episodes a week on SBS, the channel.
Kind of weird.
And then it's releasing on Netflix everywhere else.
One of the women I work with, I think it's like her cousin or daughter or some weird, like my relatives, something. Months and months and months ago, when I started at this new place, they were telling me right there and then that their daughter or whatever got a gig filming on what turned out to be this show. So there's a funny little connection.
Weird connection. So yeah. Can you check that out? Let us know what you want to watch this week by going to explosionnetwork.com/follow. Let us know on social media. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on our podcast on Podchaser, leave us 5 stars. And equally 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you want to help us out with any of our other podcasts or all the written content that Dylan has written over on Explosion Network, like all his MIFF reviews, head on over to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Just space it out.
Space it out.